Well, the first kind of serious note we have to look at today is the thing that, frankly, that keeps lawyers up at night when dealing with the faith-based world, with church and parachurch ministries. And that is what we see in the United States is a rather pervasive change in the way the average juror looks at churches and faith-based organizations. It's due to a series of factors, one of which is certainly the rise of the sex abuse scandal in the Catholic Church. So far, over $2.5 billion have been paid out in sex abuse claims worldwide, and they're not done yet. When I began practice 37 years ago, nobody sued their church. I mean, it just wasn't culturally acceptable. Today, it's not only culturally acceptable, there are seminars on how to sue churches and so forth. So literally, the cultural change is enormous. Unfortunately, while the culture was changing, as evidenced by this $5.9 million judgment against Central Christian Church of Mesa in September in Maricopa County Superior Court, while that cultural change was going on in our juries, in the way that we manage our nonprofits, the nonprofit world did not get the memo. The memo that went out pretty much for decades in commercial America said to commercial America, look, you need to separate into separate legal entities or separate legal companies, if you will, your hazardous activities in one company and the equity in your real estate or your endowments and whatever you have in another entity, to oversimplify a bit. Because the law does not require you to bet your entire equity in your campus every time you send missionaries to Mexico. If you think about it, we can have a church operate from a gymnasium. In that case, the church is a tenant. The church does not own its own building. And so if the church goes on a mission trip to Mexico and a large judgment ensues, like this $5.9 million judgment, the church doesn't lose the school. In other words, the plaintiff doesn't get to own the school where they were having their services, right? And the reason is because the church was just a tenant. The principle is you can't lose what you don't own. So what we've been doing for the last 10 years with Monica's help and along with the assistance of some bankruptcy lawyer, litigators, and other tax counsel, we've developed a process called campus preservation planning, which essentially allows us to go through and evaluate the types of activities being conducted by a mission or by a church or a parachurch ministry, evaluate its assets, and then come up with a plan that would give that organization some ability to defend itself against uninsured, underinsured, or uninsurable claims. And as we're going to see in a minute, that's a very important concept.